Welcome to Practical Mystics podcast, where we have modern spiritual conversations about the mess, the magic, and everything in between. I am Kimberly Crawford.
And I'm Shannon Havill. Welcome back to those who've been following our podcast. We are in episode 10, and we just discovered today this is the final episode for season one. You want to share a little bit about why that sounds a little bit like a surprise to us?
Yeah. Well, this is the first time we journeyed down this road, and we've been just really trusting our guidance and intuition the whole way, right?
Yeah,
Following divine directions. And we had no idea how many episodes were in a season. And you looked at it earlier before we recorded. We found out today is the last one. So,
right. If anyone's curious, it's the magic numbers 8 to 12.
mhm.
But our trusty assistant, ChatGPT, that we've been working with,
Yeah,
said for us, 10 is the magic number. And so we were like, okay, so today's the final episode.
which we were not expecting, but it's really fitting. In fact, Shannon has been utilizing AI to help us really like track and create a journey. And even the suggestions that they had us actually start our whole journey arc, we decided that we were going to throw those out because we were
Right.
like, yeah, you may know a lot, but we're going to do our own thing. So you're not the boss of me. So we decided to follow our divine directions, which exactly lined up with every single suggestion,
Yeah, the
right?
phases of the
The fa-
arc that was suggested. Kimberly pulled up the episodes and we got to see, like, hey, we actually tracked with that, which was a wonderful surprise.
Yeah. So we're intuitively doing our job right. Yay.
Yeah. And so we were talking about how great that is because, we've been talking with you and sharing different ways of following guidance and a lot of
What
the
guidance is and
e-
what that looks like.
exactly, and
Yeah.
how to listen to your higher self and your spirit team. And so that's what we've been doing this whole season. And then to have like looked at some of the logistical, statistical stuff, and finding that we were really being guided right on track.
Yeah.
And I don't know about you, but my journey has all been an experiment of what it's like to listen to the guidance and to not listen to the guidance. And both are important data and learning information.
Yeah, it's been a beautiful experience doing this with you, and I feel so blessed. And I'm hoping that and trusting that as we have both partnered up and had our spirit squads and teams guiding us and doing this collaboration together, that we are also helping other people um, have these curious conversations.
Yeah,
Right. I think I said something as we were preparing for this, having practical conversations about a very impractical topic,
right.
or at least mysterious topic. And hopefully we are breaking down barriers so people understand that this is an everyday, every moment, every breath part of their life experience. And that it doesn't have to be unattainable or too hard
Yeah.
to grasp. So I'd be curious for people out there who have followed the journey with us, what the number one thing they got out of going on this journey with us. What was the funnest topic for them, or an insight that they had gleaned out of sharing space with us?
Yeah. Or the
We've got
most impactful in your life. Like if you've taken on doing some of the um, you know,
invitations.
invitations. Thank you. I was going to
Ah,
say challenges, but we don't want to put challenges out in the world. There's enough of that. Uh, so if you've, taken on an invitation from one of the episodes
mhm.
and you had an experiment in your life, that would be so fun to have you share. And I think on our YouTube channel, uh, you can do comments and I guess
Yeah.
on Spotify and Apple.
Yeah.
You can I'm
You can.
revealing how much I know about these platforms right now or don't know. Um,
Oh my goodness.
but you said something that popped this scenario into my memory from the past, and um, it was about, so you and I are having these conversations, hoping that they'll prompt conversations and or curiosities for our listeners.
Mhm.
And in the past, s- was having a conversation with this lady at I don't know, like a seminar of some sort.
Okay.
And we were having a spiritual conversation because early on, I learned how to ask kind of like leading questions to give me an indicator of where people were at in their journey of consciousness,
Okay.
so that I try to meet people where they're at and not, blow people out of the water with talking about, you know, super spiritual things, but they're like, you're using words I don't
What's
know what
not?
you're talking about. And so anyway, this lady I was talking with, she was like, "Oh, I just love our conversation and I just don't have anybody in my life to talk about with these things." And I was like, "Well, how do you engage with people that lets you know whether they're open to these conversations?" She was like, "Oh, I don't." And I said, "Yeah, I find that there's a lot of people wandering around wishing that they could have these kind of spiritual conversations with people, but nobody's having the courage to start it, or at least, prompt a question that might give you insight if they're gonna be
Be
interested in that type of
spiritually
conversation."
curious.
Yeah, so I just had this visual in that moment of talking with that lady of like all these people wanting these conversations who are wandering around not talking to each other.
Mm,
And so this, we're just gonna right out of the gate offer an invitation to figure out a way to ask people questions that might give you an insight as to like where they're at on this spectrum of spiritual, you know, conversations. And I think you're going to be surprised that there are a lot more people out there craving these conversations and eager to join you. Uh,
yes, absolutely. Well, I think I read somewhere, and it's anecdotal, so I don't know, but they said something like over 80% of the population has had some kind of spiritual, paranormal, like there's a huge umbrella, right?
yeah,
Experience, but 80%. So you're right. There are tons of people who have at least one story or one moment where there's something that is beyond the science of understanding that they know that has happened to them, that has caused them to really be a little bit perplexed but curious. And your invitation is so great because I think that that's a fun place to start, especially if you are in a space of like playfulness, then it feels safe. You're not going to play if you don't feel safe, right?
yeah,
So that's the byproduct of play is safety and security. So if you start those conversations with a easeful, joyful, playful manner, then you're probably going to get a lot deeper of a story
yeah,
than if we were guarded or reserved about it.
yeah, yeah. 80%, that's a surprising number,
Huge number.
actually.
Yeah.
So that tells me that the ratios of you being successful in finding someone who wants to have this type of conversation with you is pretty high. So like if you were gambling, the odds are in your favor. You're going to strike uh
Yeah, you're gonna hit the jackpot.
there you go. Yeah. That's so funny.
Oh my goodness. So I am honestly surprised that we're here already.
Me
It
too.
feels, yeah, like a fast journey. Like we were on some kind of a rocket, but we had no idea of the momentum because I guess we're on it.
Yes.
And it's been a big learning curve to be able to even garner the confidence to go out into the world and share what we know, our different stories. And I don't know about you, but I'm a very private person. I keep things close to the vest. So even though I've done things
Same.
online, okay, yeah, it's one thing to have meditations out there or do a workshop or a webinar, and it's very specific and focused.
Yeah.
You have a closed container, but this is really like going out into the world, showing our authentic essence, like we have been offering up for other people to actually activate as well. So we're definitely walking the talk.
Yeah. And sharing personal stories. I mean, when we're doing like a online class or even in-person class, you know who you're speaking to. You have, you know, actual people in front of you that you can have some sort of rapport building, even if it's just for a few minutes at the beginning.
Right.
Um, but this feels very different, like talking to an unknown number and of people. And it does have, well, I had to go through a lot of work in like vulnerability work to be able to do this. And you doing it with you has made it a lot more comfortable and fun. And so I think that kind of helped soften the landing of all the fears that I was going through.
Mm.
So thanks for that.
My pleasure. It's definitely been a blessing to go on this ride with you and a lot more joyful because I wasn't getting on the train by myself, that's for sure.
Yeah.
And that's another point, I guess, that we can offer our community is if something feels mm, maybe a little too much and a little too wobbly, then grab a partner and be curious together. That way you're able to I know that we've utilized feedback with one another,
Yeah.
right? And then there's that safety in numbers. And yeah, the experience seems funner with somebody to share it with. So if you have somebody that is also curious, then take a class together. Because then you're not siloed in like, that was amazing. And I've got nobody to talk about it with, like you had said
Right.
earlier at the gate, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
Or that could be a good conversation starter too. Like, hey, I took this class and it was very interesting. So you can come from a place of something I learned, or,
yeah.
like, have you heard of anything like that? And, or talking about our podcast might be a good opportunity as a conversation starter. You know what they said? Huh. I
hmm
wasn't sure what I thought about that.
Right, right? A joy
Yeah.
audit? What the heck is a joy audit? Like, why are we doing that?
Yeah,
Mm.
yeah. Maybe don't start with like, "Hey, I hear these voices in my head. Do you?" Might not be a good first opening unless you've been on this journey a while and you're comfortable. That was actually one of the conversations I first had with she started out as my acupuncturist and now she's my soul sister. And that was one of the conversations, like, yeah, I've got these conversations going on in my head. And she was like, "You too?" And I so
You're like,
off and
"My
running we
people!"
went.
Into the sunset. Absolutely.
So,
Uh, you know, that 80% number, there's more than meets the eye. There are a lot more of us than I think people are copping to, and I think a lot of it had to do with safety and not feeling like they had the space to be able to, share what was going on internally with them. And I'm telling you folks, your people are out there, but
yeah,
you have to activate the curiosity and the bravery to go out there and find your community.
yeah,
And embodiment is the natural partner of action, right? So you get in your body and move and go find your people. And if anything, this podcast has invited you to go inward and find your breath, to be curious. Maybe you went and listened to I think it was episode 3 that talked about superpowers and going through what you call special features. That's a Shannonism.
Yes.
And they can find out if there's a workshop near them or who wrote the book and are they offering anything online, and really go and dive into the next chapter of your exploration. Like
Yeah,
this is a joyous, I think, treasure hunt, of opportunity that we have with this new earth that we're building, and finding our people is key.
it is. And I was just listening. I know we've talked about Lee Harris, who channels the Z's before, and you and I just listened to um, what's her name?
My Blahnik?
Blahnik's
Yeah.
Breakdown
Mm.
podcast, and there's 2 episodes with him on it. And anyway, he's going on this tour of doing like 3-day or no 3-hour in-person events around the world. And
Amazing.
so something like that would be if you want to meet people in person who are interested in the same types of conversations, to go to something like that would be a really great opportunity to
Mhm.
like immerse yourself in a community of people who are all having these, types of
Absolutely.
conversations.
Absolutely. Well, and then you and I were talking about next season, bringing some of these people to the podcast that we could introduce to our community. So I'm looking forward to that being a new feature of our show as well,
Yeah.
and letting them in on who inspires us besides our spirit squads and our teams
Yeah.
that we listen to for, I don't know if it's confirmation, but it's also nice to know that you're not alone in this community when you have divine directions being delivered,
Yeah.
right? And it seems like most of us are really kind of singing the same album of songs.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. Which is great. I think it was I just heard that if you say something to someone and they are not quite grokking your idea, you might be the first or maybe second person to share that with them. But then that person's going to hear the same thing multiple times.
Mm,
And by like the eighth time, it kind of clicks.
mm,
Oh, like maybe a replay happens. I don't know how it goes,
yeah,
but so we never know how we're going to be a catalyst for someone else's journey of waking up, or our courage creates the opportunity or opening for a conversation that the other person didn't have the courage to start. But then maybe you have a new friend for life that, you know,
yeah, you wouldn't have
could
otherwise
happen.
without starting that conversation. Well, and then I also want to add that this journey that we're on, each of us are breaking out of being our old selves.
I love that
And
you
I think
said
we've
that.
walked people through what it's like to follow directions, what it's like to activate their imagination, and then kind of teasing out the components of our multisensory abilities, right? And then building ourselves back together with, okay, the compassion, how to mitigate loss. And as we're going through that journey, you're breaking apart the old you,
Yeah.
and at the end of it you're a new person. And I find that when I go through those kinds of journeys, and this actually happened the other day, I woke up, I'm still in my same house, my same room, same paint color, same paintings on the wall, pictures, and I'm walking down the stairs and I'm looking around and everything is the same, but it all looks different.
Hmm.
And it's like, is my vibration different and I'm relating differently to my surroundings now? And the interaction, and I'm seeing people a little bit differently. Like they literally show up the same but different.
Interesting.
So
Yeah.
it's like being able to see an extra layer, or maybe my glasses were dirty and I washed them off and then all of a sudden things are just a little bit more in focus than they were the day before.
Yeah.
And I'm curious to know if that's happening to our community, if you've had that happen to you before. Um, yeah.
I've had it happen on like a mundane practical way. And it was when I was in high school and got glasses. And I was like, oh, trees have individual leaves on them. 'Cause that's how bad
What?
my vision at a distance was. And I didn't actually know because I didn't have anything to compare it to.
Wow.
So, and I have had that on a spiritual kind of my perception of things has
Okay.
changed. And yeah, one of the things that's coming to mind is like, I know now I see some of the subtle magic in the world. Like in my car, driving or at a stoplight, I've seen butterflies just flying by. a- a- And it's just like, when you're not looking for things, you don't see stuff like that. And it's not that I was looking for butterflies,
Yeah.
but I have attuned myself to see the magic in the world and to,
Yes.
be struck by the awe of nature and the
Mm,
wonder of life.
right.
And not saying that every day is rainbows and unicorns for me, because that is so not the case.
Right.
This week was a great example. We got like all these planets coming in alignment in a new moon. And right, my week is just kind of like not rainbows and unicorns,
Yes.
but I still saw a butterfly the other day as I was driving on the road.
Mm,
And so it's like when you start setting your intention to notice the beauty, the awe, the wonder, the magic in the world,
mhm.
start paying attention to what is showing up in front of you.
Yeah.
And maybe it's just a beautiful moment you got to witness between two people or something in nature. Um, but that I think is a different expression of how life looks different for me now than in the past.
That's beautiful. That's beautiful. Yeah. I love that you're saying that it takes practice and intention to pivot and fine tune that awareness to look for the beautiful, because you could absolutely be pointing out everything wrong in the world
Yeah.
just as easily, right? It probably easier because it's being spoon fed to us.
It's being spoon fed to us. And I think for the majority of people these days, I think we've been attuned to that. Like what's wrong in the world. Because
Mm,
if we're busy focused on what's wrong in the world, then we're not in tune with our magic and our power and our gifts to create a different world.
mm,
And sometimes noticing what's wrong, quote, wrong in the world, not working is maybe another way to put it, gives us inspiration to create something new. And I think that that's a powerful place to look at. So if you are looking at what's wrong, then and like notice that that's what you're doing, uh, then ask like, hey, what's right about this situation, or what could I do? What's in my power to make something different in the world that I do want to see or experience?
yeah, exactly. Don't stop there. Don't stop at what's wrong and just leave it and practice that. It's like keep going. What's next? Now what do we do after you identify? So that's absolutely beautiful. I play this game. I don't know, I used to call it the gratitude game, but it's like how many ways and how many times can I say thank you in one day?
Mm,
And it's like whether it's saying it to myself, like, "Thank you for letting me over and not having me miss my exit. No, thank you for seeing my blinker," or "Thank you for being I even say to the cashier, "Thank you so much for being here so I could get my groceries today." Sometimes they look at me completely strange, but it's just honoring the fact that you're providing me a service and I really appreciate it. And saying I appreciate you. How I really go out and try to say that. I tell you, the smiles that you see and the community that you feel like you're in by just offering that feels so good. It
Yeah,
feels
it does. And if you're someone who doesn't feel like you're receiving the appreciation that you want to receive, start practicing by giving appreciation
mm,
and watch how things turn around for you.
mm,
Because we've talked about it in past episodes about mirroring and how the universe is a mirror.
yes,
So, yeah, like whatever you feel is lacking in your experience of life,
right.
offer that to others
Mhm,
or bring that into the world in some way. And
mhm.
then yeah, it is like magic. Things turn around. And it's not like always like, oh, I did it once. Where's my if you're going in for it, like I did this and I expect
Yeah,
something
where's my
back.
sticker?
Yeah, it doesn't really work like that.
Right.
It has to be an authentic,
Mhm.
generous or act that you want to experience, put it out, and then just, yeah,
Yeah,
pay attention.
yeah, absolutely. I think that's beautiful. My goodness, it's surreal to be in this spot. And then for it to be our last day on the new moon equinox, like you said, with all the planets, um, like coming in hot, all lining up like they haven't done for I don't know lifetimes, like you said, maybe.
Yeah. So for people who don't follow astrology, without getting into all the names of the planets, because I'm not an astrologer, um, this is the first time in millennia that 7 planets have all been in the sign of Aries.
Right.
And basically what that means is there's a whole bunch of fucking energy happening. Some of it is awesome and some of it is stirring up things.
Yeah.
And based on my understanding from what I've heard, there's a lot of stirring up things. So if you're feeling, edgy or maybe things just don't feel quite right, this is where paying attention to astrology, finding somebody that you like and can listen to, and hearing about what's happening out there, even if you don't understand all the technical terms. And there are astrologers out there who speak in more like less scientific and more kind of down to earth practical ways. Um, but it is helpful because there are times when I'm just like, man, I'm feeling XYZ. And then I hear something about what's happening out there in the universe and the
Yeah.
planets. And I was like, oh, actually, that makes sense. And good news, not just me.
There's something so real to realize or recognize that you're not alone. Absolutely, 100%. So I listen to Pam Gregory. I find that she's just such a bright light in this world and helps to validate like some of the things like we see in our lives and it's just like, ah, okay. And I know she was talking about Mars and Aries and Mars being prominent where that feels like war and aggression in a low vibratory state, but in a high vibratory state, it's divine will. Like
Mm,
talking about earlier, where it's like you see something that is wrong or no longer in alignment with how we choose to live, instead of stopping there and getting really mad and wanting to light things on fire. Well, what if you end up shifting towards building that thing that you want to see or supporting people who are um, dismantling it in a way? But time and time again, I think between our teams and the things that we've seen externally with the people that we follow, we have heard that community and coming together is the biggest global power that we can activate right now.
yeah.
So if we feel ourselves being pulled apart or pitted against each other or you watch something on TV that shows somebody in a less than light, or you should judge them or cancel them, etc. Realize that we are all here at this point in time on purpose. We chose to come down here
Yeah.
and be a part of this beautiful ascension and this transition into new earth. And if you are listening to our podcast and you've been on the journey with us, then you are a light warrior and you are here to, on at some level, whether it's curiosity or being a bright beacon of light, activate that. Hold yourself accountable for activating beauty and grace and neutrality, right?
Compassion.
Totally. Compassion and wisdom. It's easy to be angry. It's easy to fall into passivity. And I'm not saying that that is not necessary. Sometimes being really fucking mad is the propulsion that we need to get us off our butts to do something. But just being mad and stomping around is not enough. We need to keep that momentum into creating the beautiful thing, not creating part of the chaos. There you go. I could
I
hear you for
muted
a sec.
myself for
No,
when I coughed, and
no, no
thank you.
problem. We got that. Technical difficulties, everybody.
Yeah. So, what was I saying? Um,
We were saying about activism and empowerment, and it's okay to be angry. Uh,
oh, yes.
to
Okay. Thank you.
focus it. Sure.
So, yeah, when we're feeling those intense emotions,
Mhm,
because there's a lot of shit going down right now, and there's a lot of stuff that is justifiable to be angry about.
100%.
Um, but we're not doing ourselves or humanity any favors by staying stuck in those emotions. And so we've talked about like feel the feels, get them out, and then bring in your light of your soul and ask your higher self and your spirit team to help you. Even if you're not super familiar with them, they are listening. So if you can't hear them, they can still hear you. Call in support, ask for what you need, and then turn it around and say like, how can I use this energy of my anger after you've processed it through? Like, how can I make this into something powerful
Right.
for creating what I want to see in the world?
I love that. You know, it gives me an idea. Well, not my idea, but so in our last episode, we talked about joy audits to really identifying the joy in your life, right? It would be a great idea for people to also do an energy leak audit.
Mm,
Where are you leaking energy? Are you getting up and the first thing you do is check the news on your phone and you go straight to your email? Or do you make that real sacred space in taking a few minutes to breathe and putting an intention out for your day and sending joy to the world? I know we talked about that in the last episode as well, like setting
yeah,
mantras and prayers. But if you really looked at your calendar and looked at where you spent your time, and are there little points where you see that you're leaking energy, and where can you cap that? How can you take your sovereignty back and activate your free will to get out of any victim loops? Because now more than ever, it's like those blinders have been taken off and been given this capacity to see more clearly.
yeah,
And now it's our responsibility to take those steps to break out of patterns that are no longer serving us.
yeah. So let's take a minute to talk about energy leaks because some people may not, that might be a foreign concept to them. And there are an infinite number of ways we can have energy leaks, but we can just touch on a few and then you start paying attention and you can feel into it. Um, so you gave an example. Other ways that energy leaks can happen is when we get hooked by a story that or a situation. Maybe we have like this repetitive in way we engage with someone in our life that you could just feel the exhaustion, right? You just be like, oh my God, we're doing this again. Um, or, you've got somebody that does something that just pushes all your buttons and you're like in it with them. Right. So those are a couple of ways that we leak energy when we just kind of go on autopilot and go down the spiral. Right. You have a couple other ideas that might be helpful in
Yeah,
energy leaks.
I'm not sure if I shared this in a past episode, but I had a client who, had some miscarriages, and so she had, grieved in a couch, and we ended up I asked her to take a bat to the couch or punch the couch, to be able to release all that energy, and like you're saying, you can fall into a situation where you're on autopilot, and it's like you step on a space in your physical place, and it literally is like pushing a button. You're in this energy loop that you've practiced over and over and over again. And it's like, how can you break that? How can you time not getting the creamer out of the refrigerator at the same time that your husband's pulling the coffee pot out and knocking it alone each time? Um, and others are overconsumption of media and then feeling it rise in your body and you want to explode and you feel completely helpless, but yet you're subjecting yourself to that time and time again, multiple times a day. That's a big energy leak.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Yeah, absolutely.
Social media can trigger the same type
Mm,
of
mhm,
situation.
absolutely.
So if
Doom
you're on
scrolling.
social media and maybe you're not watching the funny baby videos or cute
Mhm.
animal videos or things like that, but you're watching um, other things.
Yes.
And if you're comparing yourself to other people, like I was doing this morning, my good friend is in Scotland, which is one of
Mm.
the places I want to visit. And she's been sharing her trip with me, which has been wonderful. And then she said, oh, and next year I'm going on a safari. And I was like, you're living my best life. Because in the past, I've done a lot of world travel and
Yeah.
I was sharing with you earlier, like, life's feeling a little mundane right now,
Mhm.
although lots of magic, in the everyday also. But that's an energy leak where I caught myself. I was like, "Oh, I'm like, 1, I'm comparing myself and I'm not just, like, feeling the joy for her, but I'm feeling, like, all the regret or whatever things were going on over here." And
Yeah.
if I had allowed myself to stay in that swirl of
Yes.
comparing, oh, she's got this and I don't have that, or um, those types of things, those are huge energy leaks
Yep.
because now we're not tuned into like, what are my gifts and how am I going to share them in the world? We're stuck in the loop of
Comparison.
comparison and and it's usually not feeling good over on this side.
Right.
I'm
Right.
pointing to myself for people who are listening,
Yeah. All of our audio friends out there, they're like, what does this mean? What the heck is she doing?
pointing to herself is what she was doing. So, yeah,
That's,
it's
you know, a great book that can help people with that is The Let Them Theory by Mel Robbins. I don't know if you've read that.
I've
Uh,
not.
oh, her audiobook is just delightful, and it's packed with a lot of science-backed reasons on we know internally that comparing ourselves is not a great practice. It's not gonna be uplifting or serving us. Uh, Having discernment is, but I think we talked about what the difference is,
Yeah,
and that is definitely something to help us better understand boundaries versus tearing ourselves down or judging ourselves against others. And I highly recommend that book because it gives a lot of practical background on our brains and how they work. So if people are interested in that, um, check that out.
yeah, that's great recommendation. I
Yeah, I
like
would
that.
say another energy leak would be people and or our since I brought up boundaries, lack of boundaries and saying yes too soon.
Mm.
Everything before you really think about how that's going to affect where you want to go. So I have this practice that I do at certain gatherings, and I think I've mentioned it before, and you list 100 things and you basically parse it down to your top 3 things in life. And you end up getting a theme about what is super, super important to you,
Hmm.
right? And for me, it's relationships, it's creativity, and being of service. And I can take those 3 pillars, and before I say yes to anything, if I'm like, "I'm not sure," I think to myself, "Well, does it get me closer or farther away to those 3 pillars?" And if it pulls me farther away, then it's an easy no.
Hmm.
It's not gonna work for me, right? So, I offer that to be of service to people and maybe helping them decide on how to activate their boundaries that in a way that works for them.
That's a great suggestion. And
Yeah.
asking your higher self, your spirit
Yeah.
team,
Yep.
and doing the experiment, listening, following instructions, not following instructions, see what happens. And if you're not hearing your higher self's voice, then doing a more like cerebral list. Not saying you don't have intuition built in because that's just default in your system, right? Um, but yeah, using some sort of checklist and I think this is where getting to know ourselves, like
Mhm.
really getting to know ourselves
Mhm.
and being honest, that's probably the harder piece of it is when we're honest with ourselves about where where are we giving too much? Why are we over giving of our time, of our resources? Giving's great, but there's also like if you are an empty cup, giving is now a depleting act for you.
Right.
And I've been on that road in the past and yeah, there are limits. And my system shared that with me. At one point, we are like, yeah, you're done for a while.
Yeah.
So uh
Right? It's all about the overflow, and we've gotta get to the point of understanding that we fill up our capacity, and then the overflow is what you share. And
yes. And look at why you're doing it is the piece that is
Mhm.
where we start getting honest with ourselves
Oh,
of like with these behaviors that maybe aren't serving us. Why are we doing those things? Why are we overgiving? Like, why did I stay in a job way longer than I knew I should? Because my identity was super wrapped up in that job,
yeah.
right? I had a ton of quote cookies that I was getting from it. And then there was fear in there, like maybe I'm not gonna get so when we start like really digging in internally, asking ourselves questions and being honest with the answers, we can start having some space instead of being on autopilot and then having freedom of choice. And then that's where we get to start getting off the hamster wheel and creating a life that we love or taking on a project that we have been passionate about. Um,
Absolutely. One, if they want us want a deep dive, then they can go check out our very last episode where we really got into that.
yeah,
And and I know that we have lots of action items for people to be able to explore getting down to their essence because we basically talked about it's not about adding things on, right? It's
yeah,
about actually what can you remove in order to get back down to your essence
yeah,
and, and authenticity.
yeah. And one of the things we were talking about earlier about this show
Mhm.
is, we had this idea like you don't always know what you're going to experience when you say yes to something.
Mm,
And so at the beginning, we had talked about how you and I tend to like want to plan things out, know all the steps. And so we had some similarities in how we had taken on projects in the past.
Sure.
And I think we had this in common, but I'll just speak for myself. Most of the time, the thing never got launched because I talked myself out of it, or there was something else going on.
Nice.
So anyway, we had like, oh, okay, we're gonna like do all the episodes, and then we'll launch. And then you got this message one day like, my team said to just start recording today. And I was like, I need to process that for a minute, because it was a Monday when you broke that news and it was a Friday when we were supposed to record. And we're like, okay, jumping right in.
Yep.
And we didn't really plan any of it. There were episodes we showed up, we didn't even know what we were going to talk about.
Right. Well, they said press the hot red button, right?
Yeah. Yeah. And so, it takes some adventure and courage to just dive in and do something. Now, I think you and I had a lot of work that we had done on ourselves as we were thinking about our own individual podcasts. And so, but the thing that I really want to point to is, you're not going to know all the pieces of the adventure before you go on it or the project. And sometimes you just have to courageously jump in and start, and be willing to experience what you experience and pivot when you need to pivot. And
Yeah.
yeah, and this actually turned out to be way more fun than I think either one of us expected.
Hugely. It was, yes, beyond all expectations, such a blessing and such a gift and a lot of fun. I I don't know where we got the memo that we were supposed to know all the answers and know all of our moves before we went through an experience. And it's I'm just thinking back, there's so many different moments in my life, like whether it's with my children or myself, or I would start talking down to myself because I didn't have the right answer that I thought or wasn't right enough. In fact, I have a moment in COVID where like everybody was sequestered in their own house and you're trying to like keep these kids busy and active. And my son, my middle son and I thought, well, we're gonna play tennis, and we haven't had a badminton net that we tied up, I think, between two cars. Like, so we had the nets on the car doorknobs or something like some wild thing, and then we're casting this ball over this net. And I can tell you that maybe we actually hit it back and forth to each other twice out of 50 serves. And we're running back and forth, just chasing the ball down the street. And we're going, sorry, to each time. It's because we need to play tennis. We don't, and plus the net is not official length and, height and all the things, what I mean? Like, of course it's going to be like crazy. I don't know, after like the 51st time of yelling sorry to each other, it's like, we're not saying sorry anymore. We're saying still learning. So when we chased the ball, instead of yelling sorry, we're going still learning. And it became so fun. And we were skipping and we're like, still learning, so we would go
Love
get the
that.
ball. And it took us to be like, we're playing this game. It's supposed to be awesome. And it was like shameful for the first half. And we're like, what the heck is that about?
Yeah, that's so great.
You know? So,
Still learning. That is a
oh,
great mantra. And
yeah.
it can also, like, break whatever, like, if you're somebody who, the listeners out there, if you're someone who, gets tripped up by making a mistake, or I've had friends who they apologize for everything. In fact, I had one friend, I was like, "If you say sorry one more time, I'm
Oh,
actually gonna punch you." Because
oh,
it
man.
was such like, you're a walking apology and you don't need to be.
Yes.
But something like still learning gives so much freedom to just try things and be like, yeah, this could be a totally hot mess. And maybe I'll learn something, or maybe it'll just be fun and I won't learn a damn thing, but I had a good time trying it.
Absolutely. Or sometimes the funnest moments is when everybody's playing basketball and they know what they're doing and know the rules and you don't, and you're just totally fucking up and it's a hot mess, but you're having a great time. It's like,
Yeah.
and we stop ourselves from doing things because we suck at it. But if it's joyful, then who cares? It's like you're not trying to go to the Olympics at 52 years old. Just get out there and go do the thing.
Yeah. Well, and there's a term that just came to mind, rookie smarts. And I actually think it's a book, but the term rookie smarts I've heard in different contexts. And basically, it's like coming to something with a beginner's mind. And so I think sometimes we maybe get hung up with thinking that I don't know enough to take on this thing or, whatever.
Yeah.
But when we can have a beginner's mind or rookie smarts, um, I don't remember the whole story, but there was a situation where it was like the person who knew the least in the room had the most meaningful questions because they really just didn't what they weren't coming from knowing what they know. They were coming from what they didn't know. And it gave them some space and freedom to see some holes in the logic that the people who knew what they were doing weren't seeing.
Right.
And or you come up with some idea that's like way out in left field that the people who know what they're doing hadn't thought of because it wasn't inside the box that they're operating inside of.
Mm-hmm.
So, rookie smarts, beginner's mind. And that's how we approach this podcast, right? We don't know how to produce a podcast. So we got Riverside FM that had all the fancy tools and we learned it and we're learning, we're just scratching the surface of this.
Yes. Yes. Watch out. Season two. We're going to watch more videos and figure this out.
Right. Be careful. We might actually look a little more professional next season.
But still authentic. So don't worry.
Yes. Yeah. Not too professional because that's just not how we roll. But
Can't guarantee there won't be more goats.
I hope there will be.
No, me too.
We know there's going to be guests, but we're hoping for humans
Definitely humans.
for sure.
Oh my
So,
goodness.
yeah. So, this adventure, like we've learned so much, we've built confidence. I don't know about you, but being transparent about like we're doing this hot and messy, we don't know what we're doing, still learning
Right.
has
Right.
kind of been the mantra
Yeah.
through this whole first season.
Well, and I think it's also about trust. We've trusted ourselves. We've learned to trust each other as we build our relationship with one another. And we also trust in what we know. And um and not letting the, like you were saying, the judgment of the knowingness stop us. But I think we feel confident in our ability to show up in the world and be of service and to bring our intentions of good, right? And because we have practiced that and we're willing to get on the court and be novices in this arena, but that's because we have skills in other arenas that have given us the confidence to come here and be willing to do this. And
Yeah.
I know everybody out there is good at something, and that could be their special feature, as you say, that they can activate as they go into something that they know nothing about. And this new earth is calling for people to develop their skills and share them, not develop them and hoard them. But it's
Yeah.
like, okay, great. I'm good enough. I'm ready enough and get on out there
Yeah.
and start integrating with the world.
Yeah. Because you're going to learn more. You're going to learn more about what you know. You're going to learn about what you don't know and discover resources in how to fill that gap. Um, yeah, there are a lot of benefits to acknowledging that we don't know. And I think that in the past, our at least our culture in the US didn't really give rewards for that. But now, we're in a time where we need a whole bunch of new things, structures for society, innovations, just things to make life better for the planet, for humanity.
Mhm.
And I think I said this before, there are a lot of people out there who probably have intuitive promptings, whether they call it that or not, ideas, innovations, um, that are going to make a difference in the world. And if you get stuck in the like fear of sharing it or that you don't know enough, bring your rookie smarts to it
Mm,
and or your courage to not know and go ahead and do it anyway
yes,
and learn along the way because we need you. We need the ideas that are trapped in the humans who are having confidence issues or courage issues, you know?
absolutely, and if you don't believe in you, Shannon and I believe in you.
Right.
So you can go ahead and take a cup of our confidence and be able to activate your rocket ship and get on out there. I see so even though there are hot spots in the world, I truly see so much good also unfolding on the daily and in the microcosm, and I know that that ripples out into the world. Yeah, but we're not gonna see that. We're not gonna see that on TV, but that doesn't mean that it doesn't exist. So if you're gonna look for something, look for the good. Like you were talking about, train yourself for the beautiful, train yourself for the magic. It is out there. It is in each of you. It's in us. And it's like we are the light and we are already building this new world that is exciting and prosperous and abundant, and we need every single soul to activate their hearts and get in the game.
Yeah. And you spoke earlier about like, what are we taking in? Are we watching the news a lot and things like that? So, if you're somebody who's currently watching things that are focused on what's not awesome in the world and the tragedy and all of that, uh, we don't need to turn away from it, ignore that it's happening, but we also don't have to get hooked into the the drama of it if it's not immediately impacting our life. But change your diet of information, right? Like if you want to make a change to your body, you change the food you put in your mouth. If you want to change your mindset, change the information you're putting in there.
Yeah.
And my husband and I watch a lot of YouTube and we find some cool things that people are doing in the world out there. We
Mhm.
just watch these random videos about, I think we talked about the buffalo who like turned around this 150,000 acres uh, in 2 years, right? Like I would have never known that had I not been flipping around looking for something interesting on YouTube. And if you've been doom scrolling, you're probably going to have to search for things to change the algorithms that are
Right.
being fed to you.
Absolutely. 100%. If you want to see more love in the world, activate more love within your world. Yeah.
Yeah.
In the meantime, search for love out there because it's out there. It's
Yeah.
just not being shown to you. So you've got to do a little treasure hunting.
Yeah. And if you want to be inspired to do something that someone hasn't done before,
Mhm.
go watch a video on somebody who's done something that no one had done before.
Right.
I mean, there's a bunch of that stuff on YouTube. I mean, there's other platforms, I'm guessing. That just happens to be the one that we're plugged into. Um, but yeah, like get inspired, like, pump yourself up, give yourself a pep talk in the mirror or whatever. But like, go do your thing that is sharing your magic.
Exactly. Exactly. Time to sprinkle your magic all over the world, and we believe in you. We believe in you. Well, I think this is the end of episode 10.
And the end of season 1.
Wow, my goodness. Well, thank you, friend. I love you and I appreciate you.
I
And
love and appreciate you too. And this has been such a fun adventure. And We've talked about we're going to take a break between season 1 and 2 and do some learning and get curious about what we don't know.
And come back better, stronger, and even more capable to be able to help you guys through the mystical journey of life here at Earth School.
Yeah. So, at its core, Practical Mystics podcast is about remembering that spirituality isn't separate from life, it's woven into it.
We hope you'll continue to join us on our journey of curiosity and awakening. Thank you so much for sharing time with us.
Thanks for being you and go
Oh,
share your heart and your magic.
yes, and ease and grace, everyone. Bye for now.
Bye.